Good evening. This is Atlantic Television Network coming to you live from Port Harcourt. And the program is News Roundup, that's Global News Roundup, coming to you live here on this frequency. My name is Bon Woke. Now, before we proceed, let's take the headlines for today. A judge group warns against impeachment of Rivers governor. Appeal court restores Rivers governorship bid in Bayelsa. 2.17 trillion supplementary budget. President Tinubu appeals for 2 trillion discourse tariff review. Israel battles with Hamas in Gaza ground fighting. Entertainment actor Mr. Ibu suffers 5 successful surgeries. Ajibade claims victory against Ethiopia in 2024 Olympics qualifiers. That's some of the headlines. We'll come back to you to give you the rest of the stories. Stay glued, don't go away. Welcome back to the Global News at 9. Now the rest of your news stories. An Ijaw group under the auspices of Ijaw Nation Development Group has warned political actors involved in the alleged impeachment moves of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, saying the plot can instigate crisis and jeopardize security and development in the state. The warning comes a day after there was a reported arson attack and destruction of public assets of the Rivers State House of Assembly complex, noting that aside from the threat to the peace and security of the state following the Sunday night attack, the people of the Niger Delta region are worried that Governor Fubara, who has spent only 5 months in office, has become a target of a political coup. Speaking on behalf of the group, the president of INDG, Professor Prosper Ayawi, called on the stakeholders, including the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to exercise restraint and settle any existing disagreement without throwing the state into chaos. Adding that Rivers State, which had become a good example of where democracy works with exemplary infrastructural projects under former Governor Wike, should not be turned into festering sort of violent clashes due to ego and greed. The group urged stakeholders in Rivers State to stand firm behind Governor Fubara against any anti-democratic forces and peaceful settlement, and also called on the Speaker and leadership of the Rivers State House Assembly to rescind their decision to suspend the majority leader, Honorable Edison Ehie, and notice of impeachment to Fubara, warning that the John Nation is watching the development in Rivers and would not resist to protect the mandate handed to the governor, who is an Ijaw man. The SDP governorship candidate in the 2023 elections in Rivers State have joined in the outright condemnation of the ongoing political upheaval in Rivers State, particularly the ongoing threat to impeach the governor of Rivers State. Siminalayi Fubara, the former lawmaker, in a statement reacting to the fireworks ongoing in the state Senate, Senator Abe said, "Inasmuch as I have chosen to remain silent on the political issues in Rivers State, let me make 4 simple statements. First, as seen on trending videos in the media space, the direct gunshots and tear gassing on the person of the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, who is the chief security officer of the state, was wrong. This is beyond politics, and I publicly condemn it. Secondly, unquote, as a former minority leader of Rivers State Assembly, I'm particularly saddened by the destruction of our beloved House of Parliament, an invaluable state asset. This is unacceptable," he said. Thirdly, I believe that in the interest of the state, the Nigerian police needs to have a deeper conversation with the governor, who is the current chief security officer and the only Rivers man that currently enjoys constitutional immunity. Reacting to the development on ATM Open Conversation, socio-political analyst and compliance expert Professor Lekia Gima cautioned the State Assembly against using unconstitutional means to impeach Governor Fubara. His words.
Having said so, I have to correct one of the things he said. It is not only the executive governor that enjoys immunity in the state. The deputy governor, Professor Odu, yes, Ngozi Odu, also enjoys immunity. And needless to say, if for any reason a governor is no longer in office, it is the deputy that will take over. That is a constitutional provision. If you try anything other than that, that will be a coup, because that is it. However, let's go back to the fact that what Magnus has said aligns with what I have just said, that if you want to do anything against any public office holder, in this case the executive, the governor of a state, you must do it constitutionally. If there are impeachable offenses, it must be disclosed to the public. The House of Assembly cannot have the liberty to wake up at any time they feel like and just carry out actions. Now, if they have been doing it or they've informed the public prior to this time, let them also remind us that, look, we had said that this man was involved in impeachable offenses.
Professor Lekia Gima further stated that using unconstitutional means to impeach the governor will only gather public sympathy for Fubara.
If you want to make the public to have sympathy for a governor they may not have had sympathy for, and you continue to do things that are unconstitutional against him, then you will find out that even those who were opposed to him being in office, such as the SDP governorship candidate, will begin to have sympathy, because we are all human beings. An injustice to one is an injustice to all.
Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has refuted reports that he has sacked the State Chief Judge, Justice Simeon Amadi, his Chief of Staff, Honorable Chidi Amadi, and suspended the chairman of the 23 local government areas. The State Commissioner of Information and Communication, Wari Senebo Johnson, in a statement issued on Tuesday, said there was no iota of truth in the said reports in various media platforms, which he described as unfounded, and describes Fubara as a technocrat with robust civil service background and a kind-hearted individual who does things according to laid down rules and with the fear of God. The statement urges Rivers people and the general public to jettison such unconfirmed reports and assure that the public will be updated on events in due course. Reactions have been trailing the attempted impeachment of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara by some lawmakers in the State House of Assembly. Dr. Bethel Okojaja, former chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, condemned the impeachment process and said any plan to impeach Governor Fubara is destined to fail. Also speaking, Alhaji Abubakar Amaigu Brown, the national president of the Movement of the Survival of Ijaw Ethnic Nationality worldwide, reiterated their support for the embattled governor and warned against any illegal activity. Dr. Prince Toye Minima, the Right Honorable Speaker of the Rivers State Youth Leaders Assembly, also condemned the act of godfatherism in politics and in governance, stating that Rivers people are strongly against the impeachment of the governor without justifiable reasons. In the Speaker of the Rivers State House Assembly, Edison, who was voted by 26 Assembly as new Speaker, also thanked the lawmakers and promised to ensure fairness and justice to all and to uphold the rule of law. Reacting to the development, ATM blowout, public affairs analyst and labor lecturer, University of Port Harcourt, and Eric Ibifa cautioned against the accusation on former Governor Wike as the mastermind behind the alleged impeachment attempt by Governor Fubara.
So officially, there hasn't been any direct link as an individual, even though as it stands now, I mean, you don't need a crystal ball to tell that this is the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. It's possible that the faction of the assembly that acted the way it did couldn't have done that on its own initiative. So there are suspicions of the minister's involvement, but up to this point, he hasn't made any pronouncement. So I think it would be hasty for us to drag him into this. Yes, it's at the level of suspicions yet. I think that would be a central factor in the politics of the state. Is also was quite instrumental to the emergence of Governor Sim Fubara. Indeed, as a matter of fact, I recall a friend telling me that it would seem that Wike was the candidate and not Sim himself. So I think it's understandable that people see his involvement in this. But like I said, until as events unfold, we'll get to know the extent of his own involvement. Up to this point, he hasn't made. I mean, yesterday was at the FEC, and then he very cleverly sidestepped the issue, gave his own report about contracts awarded for his ministry, and just, I mean, feigned ignorance of what's going on in his own backyard. But let's just wait and see as events unfold, and then we'll know what positions to take.
And Eric Ibifa further condemned the ills of godfatherism in our society, citing it as a scourge that must be purged out of our political institution.
Well, godfatherism is all to the negative aspect of our politics. It's transactional. The feeling is that, oh, you bring somebody to power and then the person makes, I mean, it's like an investment and then you get returns on investment. What it does is that it usurps positions that should be held by the people. Ordinarily, anybody in public office should be accountable to those who elected him. And no single person, no matter how powerful, can take responsibility for putting anyone in government. What happens is that sometimes people then, use their influence or finance and then, help some people to get into power and then assume that they'll be the ones to control the levers of power from behind the scenes. So what they do is they take positions that should be taken by the people. And so you find that public officers become loyal to their godfathers, more loyal to their godfathers than they are to the electorate to put them there. And I've always maintained the position that, if the Nigerian people can step in and then play the role of actual godfathers, such that politicians know that their being in office or being out of office is at the behest of the Nigerian people, I guess they'll be more answerable to the Nigerian.
Chairman of National Youth Council of Nigeria Rivers State Chapter and South-South Zone, Ambassador Ihuo Chijoka has warmly felicitated with Right Honorable here on his emergence as the new Speaker of Rivers State Assembly and urged him to give his best in providing leadership. Chairman rejoices with the Speaker for his maturity and stability in handling legislative matters over the years and significant role he played in stimulating discussions on the floor of the House, adding that as the #1 youth leader in Rivers State, he believes Right Honorable here Edison will further improve relationship between the legislature and provide more opportunities for youth growth of Rivers youths. Statement by the Senior Special Assistant, the Chairman, Media and Publicity, Dr. Amadi Eze, said the Apex Youth Leader also wishes the Speaker the very best on the new assignment. The All Progressive Congress in Rivers State condemns in very strong terms the destruction of public assets at the Rivers State House Assembly complex. The opposition party in the state described the development as a desecration of the legislature. The APC, in a statement signed by the party's spokesperson, Darlington Nwuju, said, "We had warned Rivers people of the third term ambition of the immediate past Governor Nyesom Wike and the unpatriotic agenda to continue to emasculate the state and keep our people perpetually in poverty with consolidation of a convoluted economy powered by mercantile distribution of state resources." Statement said, reacting to development on ATM Open Conversation, social-political analyst and professor and compliance expert Professor Lekia Gima cautioned against the idea of third term by any individual. Is cited as unconstitutional that the governors remain sole.
I don't want to believe that the former governor will still be holding on to, the delusion that he is still in charge. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you aided any person to become governor or you put somebody in office, assuming these are the scenarios. The fact is that whoever is a governor at a certain time will be the only person to exercise those powers. And let me warn that those powers are not limited to his ability to direct and manage all offices, public offices in the state. His ability are not limited to being the chief security officer of the state. His ability are not limited to him managing the whole assets of the state. Assets will include the buildings of this state. If we have aeroplanes, he should be the one in control of it. If we have vehicles, the governor will be the person in charge of all of them, and so on and so forth. There is no room for any person who has left office to hold on to any form of public property in any form whatsoever, under any guise whatsoever, under any pretenses whatsoever, under any convoluted, self-delusional, or in fact, self-trepified belief that he should be allowed to use those facilities.
Professor Lekia Gima further said any governor aiding an individual to run a third term in office by proxy was involved in illegality.
And let me warn also that if a sitting governor allows somebody who has left office in any position, not just as a governor, but in any other position, to hold on to public offices, facilities, assets, he is engaged in illegality. He is engaged in illegality. In case you don't know, I can assure you that Rivers State has an asset management policy and manual, which tells us how we manage all our assets. And we also have a disposal document and policy and manual, which also tells how assets of this state will be managed either in a transitory manner and eventually disposed if need arises. So there's no room for that. But, you know, if the opposition party in the state, that's the APC, is saying these incidents that happened in Rivers State yesterday and the day before, including the explosion or is it burning of the State House of Assembly and even the, if you like, call it scenes of violence we saw on the street, which also seem to have the police involved one way or the other. If they are saying that it is caused by the former governor, then since they have those privy of that sort of information, they should go forward to give us more.
Rivers State Governor Siminalaye Fubara and some elders of the state jetted to Abuja, the federal capital territory, on Tuesday morning for possible reconciliation of the crisis that rocked the State House of Assembly and the move to impeach the governor. This is coming after some elders of the state held a closed-door meeting with Fubara in Government House on Monday evening, and they include the chairman, Rivers State Elders Forum, Chief Ferdinand Anabaraba, former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Chief Oneze Okocha, chairman of the State Traditional Rulers Council, Chief Sergeant Awuse, the former state chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Felix Obua, former member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Ken Chikere, among others. On Tuesday morning, it was gathered that some of the elders met the governor again, and all of them proceeded to the Port Harcourt International Airport or Magwa in the Ikure local government area, where they flew to Abuja. When contacted, the media aide to the governor, Boniface Onyedi, denied knowledge if his boss had left for Abuja. There were, however, reports that the governor's escort vehicles were spotted along Aba Road as news filtered that they had driven Governor Fubara to the airport and were returning to the government house. Meanwhile, Governor Fubara had congratulated the member representing Ahoda East constituency, Right Honorable here, for emerging as the state speaker of the House of Assembly and urged him to uphold the sanctity of the law and legislature. National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has called on Rivers State Governor Siminalaye Fubara and his immediate predecessor Wike to sheathe their swords. The call, which was contained in a statement issued by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugun Naba, condemned the move by the Rivers State Assembly to impeach the governor, while Wike, the Minister of Federal Capital, has been accused of plotting to unseat the governor through impeachment, causing chaos in the state. Wading into the matter, the party's National Working Committee urged all actors in disagreement to allow for the peaceful and amicable resolution of all issues and assure that it had commenced processes aimed at resolving the fracas using its internal conflict resolution mechanism, and therefore charge all leaders, critical stakeholders, and members of the great party in the state to close ranks, unite and focus on the onerous tasks of governance and delivery of dividends of democracy to the people. Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reversed the nullification of the candidacy of All Progressive Congress, Chief Timothy Silva, in the forthcoming November 11, 2023 governorship election in Bayelsa State. The appellate court in the judgment held that Justice Donatus Okorowo of the Federal High Court Abuja was wrong in ordering the sack of Silva as a candidate of the APC in the November 11 governorship election in Bayelsa State. According to the judgment, the trial court was in error to have assumed jurisdiction in the matter on grounds that the plaintiff and the Federal High Court lacked the necessary locus standi and legal right to initiate the suit in the first place, having not participated in the primary election that produced Silva as flag bearer on the APC in the forthcoming election. Because stressed that the issue of jurisdiction is fundamental in an election matter, and since the lower court had no jurisdiction in the first place, all actions taken in the matter are declared a nullity. The appellate court, in addition, stated that once a judgment is found to have been delivered without jurisdiction, no matter how sound it may be, it's an exercise in futility. The court subsequently voided the decision of Justice Donatus Okorowo, who nullified Silva's participation in the November 11 governorship election, stressing that by that judgment, INEC would have gone ahead to release Silva as candidate of APC for the governorship election in Bayelsa State. Justice Bintas Zubairu, who delivered the judgment, subsequently slammed on a cost of 1 million naira in favor of Silva. Residents of the second Amepa in Ekuibo Ugeli community, Ugeli North, local government area of Delta State, have protested against the incessant illegal dredging activities at the back of their houses while calling for urgent intervention of the federal and state government to rescue them from the imminent danger. The President General of the Ekuibo community, Comrade Bakar Bernard, while lamenting the hazards of the illegal dredging activities of members of the community, noted that the dredging cannot take place because of its closeness to houses, while the local government chairman and Delta state government are aware. Also said the Commissioner for Environment, Ejiro Jamani, visited the scene and ordered that the excavated areas should be refilled, while one of the protesters, Mrs. Ogenekewe Madeleine, said the affected residents suddenly saw a dredger and excavator positioning at the back of their houses. Ugeli is calling on the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oborowori, Commissioner for Environment, and Ugeli North Local Government Chairman to rescue them from the threat and possible destruction of their houses. Okoro Utip community in Ibena local government area of Akwa Ibom State is on the verge of being washed away following the perennial rising sea and river levels. The coastal erosion witnessed in the community, according to natives, have made them lose a large portion of ancestral lands and sacked many families. While some of the residents of the community said they have been abandoned to their fate on the island. Speaking during a 3-day cycle of reflection meeting at the community hall Okoro Utip, organized by the Health of Mother Earth Foundation, an organization that focuses on environment climate justice, Secretary Okoro Utip Village Council Chief Enyina Wilson said the major need of the community is for the government or any other relevant agency to construct an embankment, adding that encroachment had gradually displaced some of their people, noting that previous appeals made to government and other agencies did not yield any positive results. Again, Elizabeth Ifum noted that women were the worst hit in the ocean surge, saying that many of them had lost their livestock and other valuables to the disaster, and wonder why the government have turned a blind eye to their plight, while lamenting the untold hardship the people faced from the natural disaster, even as she noted that oil spills from the activities of the multinationals had contaminated their rivers and made it difficult for them to have safe drinking water. Abia State Governor Dr. Alex Uti says President Bola Tinubu's administration is not responsible for the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of indigenous people of Biafra. However, his administration is working hard to ensure Nnamdi Kanu's release by deploying a different approach to secure the IPOB leader's release. Governor Uti, who made the remark during a media party in Umuahia, the state capital, said different approach would not be made public until it had yielded the desired results. Oti said, I believe in result rather media hype. We do not want media noise. We are working very hard to ensure, he said. The governor further said, my personal position is that the new government does not need to inherit the wrong things of the previous administration. Regarding the development on blowout, public affairs analyst and lecturer at University of Port Harcourt, Eric Ibifa, said, urged the governors and members of the political elite in Southeast to join hands in working to facilitate the release of Kanu.
His intention was exonerating, but I think it's also a statement of fact that Nnamdi Kanu wasn't arrested under Tinubu's watch. Yes, that doesn't mean that Tinubu should fold his hands and not do anything about it. But I guess that statement must have been made in a context. It's possible that some people, while, I mean, again, a lot will depend on the way the question was framed, that, necessitated that kind of response. But I think at this point, we've even gone beyond the level of now apportioning blame. As for the other governors coming on board, I think it will even be, it will be futile for anybody to even expect that one governor alone in the Southeast can bring this to reality. I mean, it has to be the governors working in concert. There has to be a clear synergy amongst the governors, and not just the governors alone, by the way. Members of the political elite in Igbo land, they need to come together and work. And it seems to me that they've been working that way. I have a feeling that, this report must have been based on, the governor's response to a particular question during that media parley. And it's possible that, of course, the governor wouldn't want to disclose everything. And for me, again,
And Eric Ibifa further advised the governor to work silently and achieve results rather than raise hopes and achieve nothing.
That's understandable. Part of the problem is that attempts have been made in the past and those attempts had failed. So you don't make statements that people could construe to then begin to mean that you're trying to raise hopes unnecessarily, and then you raise expectations too high. It seemed to me that that's the context in which some of those things occurred. And like I said, I have a feeling, it's visceral, but I have this feeling that, something good is going to come out of Governor Oti. It seemed to be making the right moves. Again, understandably, it's possible that, being a fellow alumnus of the University of Port Harcourt, I'm particularly sympathetic towards him. But I think it's doing a few things right. And let's just give him the benefit of the doubt on this. He may not be the one to pull it off, but I have a feeling that, the days of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration and having
Supreme Court has moved hearing on the application by the All Progressive Grand Alliance seeking to remove Hope Uzodinma from office as Imo State Governor to December 5. This is coming after the Apex Court had fixed October 31, 2023 for the commencement of hearing on the matter, while APGA in 2022 filed an application where the party contended there ought to have been a fresh election in the state after the Apex Court nullified the election of the People's Democratic Party, Emeka Ihedioha, candidate of the People's Democratic Party. The party said the Supreme Court did not rule on the validity of Uzodinma's candidacy since it was not challenged by the Ihedioha and the PDP in the appeal. But 3 years after the application was filed, the Apex Court fixed its hearing on Tuesday. No reason has been given for the postponement of the case. Enugu State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Kinslude, has reiterated the commitment of the government to prosecute human traffickers in the state. According to him, the commitment is in line with Governor Peter Mbah's mission of ridding the state of human traffickers and making Enugu the preferred destination for investment, business, tourism, and habitation. Ude, who is also the state chief law officer, said this in Enugu that he would work with security and law enforcement agencies to ensure that owners of unapproved orphanage homes and brothels used as conduits for human trafficking were exposed and prosecuted. Ude said this during an advocacy meeting he held with the Enugu Zonal Commander, National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Mr. Sam Ofiai, and his team, urged the agency to strengthen the state task force against human trafficking, which he chairs, to deal decisively with the menace and urged relevant stakeholders to draw up an action plan to optimize the performance of the task force and maintain that Mbah's administration would not tolerate trading in human persons or human organs in any form. He warned that anyone caught will be punished accordingly, adding that he would issue a fiat to NAPTI to enable it to prosecute human traffickers under the state law. Earlier, the NAPTI Zonal Commander Ofia said the agency had a shelter where victims taken from abusive homes and brothels were kept until they were integrated back into society. saying sheltering victims of human trafficking was part of the agency's mandate and appealed to the commissioner to assist the agency in securing decent accommodation as they currently stay in a rented apartment, unconducive and insufficient for its operations. Some indigenes of Oyo town have staged a peaceful protest at the entrance of Oyo High Court in Awe, protesting the delay in the selection of new Alafin. They carry placards with different inscriptions such as Oyo Mercy, follow tradition, not money. Alafin's stool is not for sale. On Alafin, let dignity reign. Alafin, due process, Ife consultation are sacrosanct, and a host of others. Meanwhile, the High Court sitting in Oyo State on Tuesday adjourned till Thursday, November 2nd, for hearing. The case is treated by 5 kingmakers against the state governor, Seyi Makinde, the state commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs, as well as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice over the vacant stool of Alafin, Oyo. This is coming after the lawmaking makers in Oyo town, popularly known as Oyo Mercy, have dragged the governor and 2 others to court for aborting the process for the selection and appointment of the candidate for filling the vacant stool for Alafin of Oyo. People's Democratic Party in Osun State says it is ready to battle with a group called the Osun Masterminds over its threat to drag the Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke to the anti-graft agencies over recently unveiled multi-billion naira infrastructural development plan. This is coming after the state governor Adeleke on Friday unveiled a 100 billion naira infrastructural development plan for the state, which captured the construction of 5 flyovers, rehabilitation of roads, supply of potable water, rehabilitation of public primary and secondary schools, and health facilities. Also, Professor Waisiu Ayeduko Ale, Executive Director of the group, during a press conference, has threatened to report the state governor Ademola Adeleke, the anti-graft agencies, for the end of working hours Monday after the infrastructure development plan, adding that TOM is committed to its mandate of advancing good governance, ethical politics, and responsible citizenship, and expressed fear that the state may return to the days of excessive borrowing and financial recklessness. Describing Tom as a necessary group, an ally of the Progressive Congress, the PDP, in a statement by its chairman Sunday Bisi, accused the group of being deaf and dumb to due process compliance already ongoing in the infrastructural plan, while Ademola Adeleke pointed out that since then, the hired group has been acting as an unrepentant agent of rejected and defeated politicians. Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has declared Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan of People's Democratic Party as the duly elected candidate for the Kogi Central Senatorial election held in February 2023. The court further dismissed the appeal filed by Abubakar Ohare of the All Progressive Congress for lacking in merit. This is coming after State Election Petitions Tribunal in September had declared Akpoti Uduaghan winner of the Kogi Central Senatorial election. The tribunal chairman, Justice K.A. Ojiako, delivered the unanimous decision and judgment of the 3-man panel, revealing that Ohare's results were inflated in 9 polling units in the Ajaokuta local government area, adding that the Independent National Electoral Commission reduced Natasha's results in those areas and omitted the results of 3 other polling units meant for Natasha in the same local government area. Tribunal judgment led Ohare to seek redress, while the appeal court further maintained that Akpoti Uduaghan won the election. Earlier, Akpoti Uduaghan had asked the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakub, to review the outcome of the senatorial election in Kogi State, Central District, while Akpoti Uduaghan in the letter dated March 1st, 2023, demanded a review of the declaration and return of the candidate of the Ohere as winner of February 25th senatorial election. Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello says he accepts the appeal court's verdict that Femi Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan of the People's Democratic Party as a duly elected senator for the Kogi Central. Earlier, this court had dismissed the appeal filed by Ohere of the All Progressive Congress for lacking in merit, while the State Election Petition Tribunal in September had declared Akpoti Uduaghan winner of the state Kogi Central senatorial election, which also invalidated the victory of Ohere. Tribunal Chairman Justice A.A. Ojiako delivered a unanimous judgment of the three-person panel, revealing that Ohere's results were inflated in 9 polling units in the Ajokuta local government area. Nigerian Medical Association in Kaduna State said it has concluded plans to flush out fake and quack doctors of the profession in the state. The state chairman of the state, NMA Dr. Madaki David Shein, while addressing a press conference as part of activities to mark the 2023 Physicians Week held in their secretariat, warned that the medical body will fight fake medical doctors and quacks to a standstill, warning them to stay off the profession and assured that they were not going to give them breathing space to operate us go scot-free. Called on government to fix the health sector, as the Nigerian Medical Association is also affected by the poor conditions of the health sector. The Medical Week has the theme Elevating Healthcare Excellence, Fighting Medical Quackery, Reinforcing Professional Standards, adding that the NMA has resolved to work with relevant stakeholders to ensure all forms of quackery are stamped out in the state, saying that they would not hesitate to chastise their members and continually urge them to uphold the utmost professionalism, support the association in ridding it of forms of quackery. Also said they have embarked on a massive awareness campaign and sensitization on the activities of quacks and practice of quackery in the state, frowned at the media trial of Nigerian doctors and request that the rule of law be observed and follow the due process if aggrieved in discharging their responsibilities. Parish priest of St. Anne's Catholic Church, Ibi local government area, Council of Taraba State, Reverend Father Thaddeus Tahemba, who was kidnapped in the state, has regained his freedom. This is coming after the priest was abducted by suspected kidnappers in the early hours of Sunday from the parish resident of St. Anne's in Sarikin Kudu area of the council. Announcing his release via a press statement signed by Reverend Father John Jerome Lyken in Jalingo, the state capital, by the Catholic Diocese of Wukari. The priest was said to have been released and hurt by his abductors on Monday. The bishop of the diocese, Most Reverend Mark Nzukwe, also expressed satisfaction at the immediate release of the clerics, while some of the parishioners expressed gratitude to God for the timely release of the priest, and also praised the security operatives and the state government for ensuring the priest's rescue. Independent Electoral Commission and the National Assembly have pledged their commitment to ensure credible elections in Bayelsa State, Imo and Kogi. The decision was reached during the inaugural meeting of the Senate and House of Representatives Committees on Electoral Matters. at the meeting held in Abuja on Monday. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, Chairman Senate Committee on INEC, Senator Sharafaddin Ali, and his counterpart from House of Representatives, Honorable Bayo Logu, said the gubernatorial elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi have been fixed to hold in the next few weeks. Yakubu, while addressing members of the National Assembly who were present at the meeting, presented the Commission's plans and preparations towards each free, transparent, credible elections in the 3 states, and assured that the Commission was ready to collaborate with the National Assembly and other relevant stakeholders towards ensuring improved electoral process in the country. Ali, in his remarks, charged INEC to do all within its capabilities to ensure the elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi are credible, adding that the meeting was aimed at discussing important matters concerning INEC's activities and preparations for the forthcoming elections in the 3 states, while the 9th Assembly has set a high standard for the committee, especially with regards to the passage of the Electoral Act 2022 and the Electoral Offences Commission Establishment Bill 2022. Independent corruption practices and other related matters, Offences Commission has filed a criminal charge against the suspended Dean, Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Indifon, following the conclusion of the investigation by the Anti-Graft Commissions into the Don's alleged gross misconduct against some of his students. In the charge sheet number, ICP is arraigning the senior lecturer in a 4-count charge ordering on sexual harassment, official corruption, abuse of office, contrary to Section 818, of the Corruption Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. The spokesperson for the Commissioner, Azoka Ogugwa, in a statement said Indifon will be arraigned in a court on a date to be given by the court, while the ICPs, in collaboration with the Department of State Services, on October 4, 2023, arrested Indifon in Calabar, Cross River State, after the lecturer shunned several invitations extended to him. About 20 former agitators in the Niger Delta region have graduated as aircraft maintenance engineers under the Presidential Amnesty Program's Aviation Training Scheme. The beneficiaries are part of the certified pilots and aircraft maintenance engineers under the Presidential Amnesty Program Aviation Resuscitation Program for ex-agitators of the Niger Delta region. Speaking in Lagos as a brief yet colorful graduation ceremony for the delegates, Interim Administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Major General Barry Ndiomo, stated that the various initiatives being deployed by his administration to improve the lives of young people is critical to the supply of manpower globally in strategic industries and trade sectors. Ndiomo, who was represented by Wilfred Musa, PAP's head of reintegration, recalled that upon assumption of office over a year ago, his administration decided to throw its weight behind the aviation resuscitation program, given the enormous opportunities that abound in the aviation industry and its relevance in building adequate human capacity, and that aviation training might be very expensive, but there is no amount that is too much to invest in the capacity development of Niger Deltans. Police Council has confirmed the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Ebotuku, as the Substantive Inspector General of Police. Minister of Police Affairs, Brian Gardem, who disclosed this after a meeting of the State of the Council presidential presided over by the President Bola Tinubu at Asoro Villa, said Ebotuku's confirmation follows his satisfactory discharge of duties in the past 3 months and since his appointment on June 20. He noted that Egbotoku has also provided a of the country, which indicates his stability for the office. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away. Senate has confirmed the nomination of Mr. Zaccheaus Adedeji as chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Mr. Adedeji, during his screening before the upper chamber, explained how leakages in the oil and gas sector as a major revenue of the government can be blocked with full implementation of the laws and the Petroleum Industry Act. Speaking before his confirmation, Adedeji promised to improve the data mining capacity of the agency to make appropriate tax decisions and attributed revenue leakages to lack of data in the finances of local and foreign firms operating in the state, and also pledged to look into the federal government's tax credit scheme, which grants some operations tax holidays in exchange for the provision of infrastructure.
Mr. Zacchaeus Adedeji was received by senators as a competent personality for the chairman of the FIRS. Majority of the senators, knowing the capacity of the nominee, prayed the upper chamber to allow him to bow and go. This was after they attested to the capacity he possesses and his wealth of experience, as well as performances in his career, which started from Oyo State.
Throughout Nigeria and stand in on his behalf. The three of us have met, the three senators from Oyo State, and we resolved that we will stand up here and beat our chest on behalf of our colleagues that Zach is a material for Nigeria. Thank you very much.
He delivered a paper, we asked him questions. We had more time, over an hour, asking him questions. He answered. So I feel it's quite improper for us, for me as a person who I know him very well, not to say something. Not to say something. This man is very qualified, more than qualified, to perform this function. I therefore call on my colleagues, let's not waste more time. Allow him to bow and go. He has the capacity, Mr. Chairman. Let him go.
The senators, however, agreed to ask the nominee some questions on national issues, particularly on leakages and tax credit scheme. While responding to questions put to him by senators, he said revenue leakages is caused by lack of data on the finances of local and foreign companies operating in Nigeria. He said if confirmed, he will improve on data mining capacity, which will serve as a premise for proper monitoring and decision-making on taxes. He added that he will look into the issues of tax credit scheme that grants some companies tax waivers in exchange for infrastructure.
It's the same way. When you have waiver, it is sometimes, I give you Dangote Cement. It was given waiver for 10 years. No payment, nothing. But today, if you look at Dangote, because it was well used as at that time, the taxes paid by Dangote alone is more than all banks capitalized in Nigeria. It's like impact industry. When you have a baby, you give them money to go to school, you won't collect anything. But when they graduate, you begin to collect money from them. The problem we always have is that we are not following up. We don't know the limit. So, and that is why one of the proposals, which I know Mr. President and Minister of Finance is working on, is to reassess all the waiver and re-evaluate their economic importance, whether they are still useful or not. I will not support. And then when you have something that have stopped now, even without any law, you have a hotel getting pioneer status. What can hotel do that will give them pioneer status? We've been sleeping or staying in hotels since we were born, since my brother was born, everybody. So what is the new thing that any hotel will say they are doing now that will qualify them for pioneer status?
Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, while addressing newsmen, shared his points of argument on company income tax and the implementation of the law regarding taxes.
Sufficient laws, I can tell you that. What we need is implementation of those laws. One area I told you is the company income tax, income laws. And that area requires that companies are allowed. Look at, you are here to cover this news. You made expenses against income. So if your television declare income of 10 naira, your expense of coming to cover news in National Assembly should be deducted against that income. So if your expense is 5 naira, you would minus 5 naira from 10 naira. Net payable is 5 naira from expensive perspective. And that is the area where we say inland revenue should implement the laws that are made by us.
Having confirmed the FIRS boss, the Senate will expect him to work for the full implementation of laws associated with taxes, with a view to generate more revenue for the nation. From the National Assembly, Abuja, Rotimi Adewuyi, ATN News.
Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives has given the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority, as well as 3 others, 72-hour ultimatum to appear before it over various audit queries, amounting to about 20.853 billion naira raised against the agencies by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Other agencies affected by the order are the Rural Electrification Agency, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and the Federal University of Petroleum Studies, Efun, Delta State. The committee chaired by Honorable Bamidele, representing PDP Oshun, gave the sermon following the absence of the agencies at a sitting organized by the committee to address the audit, adding that 6 agencies are part of the 60 agencies listed in the first phase of audit investigation and scheduled to appear before the House Committee on Public Accounts to defend the queries issued against them. At the commencement of the hearing, the committee chairman lamented that the agencies due to appear before it refused to take advantage of the invitation to defend themselves concerning the audit queries against them and deliberately staying away, while some members of the committee expressed dismay over the action of the agencies, describing it as total disregard for the parliament and the constitution of the land, which should be sanctioned in parliament, so in line with the powers of parliament which created the agencies.
Some of these agencies had been in the habit of treating invitations and summons by the Public Accounts Committee with contempt in the previous assembly. And if they do not know, it is a different ball game this time around. And we are going to use all the powers donated to us by the Nigerian people through the Constitution to ensure that every kobo, every naira of the Nigerian people given to anyone to spend is spent in a lawful, prudent, transparent, and accountable manner. Anything short of that will not be acceptable. This Honorable House, through the Public Accounts Committee, do give a 72-hour summon, issue a 72-hour summon to the Chief Executive Officers and Accounting Officers of the Rural Electrification Agency, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority, and the Federal Universities of Petroleum Resources, EFROM. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The power of investigation that's given to us is in our ground law. Section 88 of the Constitution is very clear. Section 89, subsection 1C, gives us the power to invite anybody. And that witness must appear. He shall. The operative word is that the person shall appear. What these agencies and their headship have done is a disrespect not to the House alone, but to our Constitution.
Up next is business news. President Bola Tinubu says Nigeria's power sector privatization have failed to meet its objectives, as the national grid was serving only about 15% of the country's electricity demand, despite being privatized 10 years ago. Tinubu, who spoke during Nigeria's electricity supply industry market participation and stakeholders roundtable that focused on privatization, also called for recapitalization of power distribution companies, adding that preliminary analysis showed that the discos were currently undercapitalized to close to 2 trillion, stating that Nigeria's power tariffs should be rebased. Represented by the Special Advisor Energy and Infrastructure, Office of the Vice President, Sadiq Wanka, President Bola Tinubu said, 10 years on, he believes it is fair to say that the objectives of the sector privatization have, by and large, not been met, while over 90 million Nigerians lack access to electricity. He noted that in the short term, stakeholders in the sector must intensify efforts to address commercial issues and improve the investment attractiveness of the sector, stressing that the sector should have a clear plan to rebase tariffs to recognize the actual cost and loss levels of the entire value chain and allow for adequate investment cost recovery. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu laments the inability of over 90 million Nigerians to access electricity despite the federal government privatization of the sector 10 years ago. Tinubu, who spoke at the 10th year anniversary of Nigerian electricity supply industry market participation and stakeholders roundtable in Abuja, said through his special advisor in power, Sadiq Wanka, said what is worse is that the total amount of electricity that can be wheeled through the national grid has remained relatively flat in the last 10 years. The grid capacity has increased from over just 3,000 megawatts to typically just over 4,000 megawatts, versus a 40,000 megawatts targeted by 2020 that the federal government has set pre-privatization. It laments that every kilowatts of electricity sent to the grid, only 60% of it is paid for. But as we know, even the tariff paid for the unit of electricity is far from being cost-effective, especially in the light of recent devaluation of the Naira. Reacting to the development, an 18th Society Watch social commentator Stephen Akrika commended the president for his show of concern over the power deficiency rocking the nation, which has led to a number of citizens in rural areas lacking access to electricity.
It's a good one that the president is aware of the issues that are coming in the country. But I believe he also should look at modalities in which he can curb these issues. Now he has said 90 million persons don't have electricity. So what are the arsenals in place of which he intends making sure that at least these persons have electricity in their homes? At least to bring it to the barest minimum, if not eradicating it totally, that there should be no power failure issues in the country. Because we've seen so many political issues that have streamlined this period. But at least, what are the measures is put in place now? Because ever since electricity in Nigeria was privatized, whereby we see they moved from NEPA to power holding and to what they are now, PhD. So I think if the presidency and its governance can see how these issues of electricity can be settled once and for all, I believe it will be a good one than making it a political statement.
Stephen Akrika called for the government to critically reform the energy sector, as this sector was key to industrialization, which brings about development.
Two things that brings in development into society is electricity and road. Now, if the president is aware of this, now he has what Ministry of Power and Electricity. So now in this Ministry of Power, they also have sub, which is the commissioners, which is the various commissioners in the states, which are in charge of electricity, which is the power. So if through this is his ministry, he can schedule it down to the states and see how these commissioners can look at those loopholes, those areas, those local governments that don't have this electricity supply, can see how they can pushing those things there, pushing transformers and light. I believe we can, because for crying out loud, Nigeria is giving electricity to a few countries closer to us, of which I don't intend to mention their names. But if Nigeria can launch out electricity to these countries, how about the country itself? So the governance, the presidency, His Excellency Mr. Boleda Tinubu should look into that direction, as he has looked into. He should start action and say he can push in arsenals, and all these things will be what
missiles and machine guns fire while airstrikes on the Gaza Strip also continued overnight. Israel said more than 300 targets were hit in total, and Israel says it's focusing on northern Gaza but continues to strike all parts of the Strip. Hamas says it ambushes 3 Israeli vehicles with anti-tank missiles and attacked ground troops with shells in southern Gaza. On Monday night, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, saying this is a time for war. Israel has been bombing Gaza since 7 October, Hamas attack that killed 1,400 people and saw at least 239 people kidnapped as hostages. While the Hamas-run health ministries in Gaza says more than 8,000 people have been killed since Israel's retaliatory bombing began. And now entertainment news. Nollywood actor John Okafor, aka Ibu, has undergone 5 surgeries which were all successful. This coming after he celebrated his 63rd birthday from the hospital bed and appealed to Nigerians to come to his aid in settling his medical bills. Mr. Ibu, while appealing for public assistance, said that he was battling an ailment that may cost him his leg, and he had undergone 5 surgeries which were all successful. He, however, stated that he is still recovering in the ICU and is waiting to get stabilized so he can fly abroad for further advanced treatment. Ibu appreciated the general public for their donations, as he added that he is counting on them for their prayers and unwavering support. Here now is sports news. Rashid Ajibade is confident that Super Falcons will end victory in the 3rd round of the 2024 Olympic Games qualifying series. Nigeria has entertained the Lucy of Ethiopia at the Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Both teams had battled to a 1-1 draw in the first leg of the 2nd round contest 1 week ago. And that's the global news update for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. A judge group warns against impeachment of Rivers governor. A court restores Silva's governorship bid in Bayelsa State. And 2.17 trillion supplementary budget passes 2nd reading. Also, President Bola Tinubu appeals for 2 trillion discourse tariff review. And in foreign scene, we brought a report that Israel battles with Hamas in Gaza ground fighting. Entertainment, we told you that actor Mr. Ibu suffers 5 successful surgeries. Ajibade claims victory as against Ethiopia in 2024 Olympic qualifiers. I am Bon Woke. Thanks for watching the news. You can follow us on our social media platforms any other day in all our broadcasts. Good night.